Hello everyone. Foremost, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak about my personal experience during the destruction of the Dutch Jewish community by the Nazis from May 10th, 1940 until May 1945. I started to speak about my wartime experiences many years ago after I heard time and again that Holland had been a paradise for the Jews, hardly the case in a country where 80% of the Jewish community was massacred. My name is Nanette Konig. I'm a Dutch Holocaust survivor, the only member of my immediate family to survive. I'm also a classmate of Anne Frank. I'm alive and well at the age of 83, living in Brazil with my husband, John, to whom I have been married for 58 years. I would have preferred to be able to speak to you in person if Brazil were not so far away. Therefore, I will tell you my story on this video and hope that you will learn that it's not enough just to say that the Holocaust should never happen again. It is up to each and every one of us to actively speak up against any human injustices and any infringement against human rights. My brother and I came from happy, well-settled, upper-class, middle-class Jewish family living in Amsterdam. We went to a good public school, traveled and practiced sports. My father was a banker and together with my mother had an active social life with friends and an extended family. My parents had high expectations for my brother and myself and gave us a modern upbringing for that time. When the Germans occupied Holland without any declaration of war, our lives became totally upheaved, unlike anything we had ever known before. The occupation inflicted the most frightful, traumatic experience and completely destroyed our nearest and dearest family and friends. Before the war, there was latent anti-Semitism in Holland, which surfaced as soon as the occupation started. The Dutch Jews were well integrated into the Dutch society. Resistance to the German invasion lasted only 5 days until Holland capitulated. Even before the capitulation, the royal family left for England and later went on to Canada. Thus, the government of Holland was left in the hands of civil servants who were advised to administer the country as best as they could without causing anarchy. Holland was under military rule during the occupation. At first, the Germans did not want to aggravate the population against the occupation, but when the Nazis' real objective became clear, resistance was inevitable. One measure after the other was taken against the Jewish population, transmitted to the Jewish community by the Jewish Council, established for that purpose on orders of the Nazi occupation. The polemic role of this council has been a bone of contention in the Jewish community ever since. In the autumn of 1940, the Nazi occupation demanded that all Jewish civil servants and bank employees be dismissed. Due to my father's position in the bank, he had to ask for his own dismissal for the well-being of the institution. As of the 15th of September 1941, signs forbidden for Jews appears. Jews were no longer allowed to visit parks, zoos, cafes, restaurants, hotels, theaters, cinemas, concerts, and libraries. Hitler's ultimate goal was to dominate Europe, or rather the world, and needed the Jewish assets to finance his ambitions. Therefore, also in Holland, Dutch Jews had to register land and property with Lippmann and Rosenthal, a Jewish bank confiscated by the Nazis. Money and holdings had to be deposited there as well. Jews could not own companies, could not be employed in non-Jewish firms. Jews had to wear a yellow star with the inscription Jew, hand in their bicycles, could not use public transportation, and their telephones were disconnected. Jews were not allowed to own cars, radios had to be handed in, and one could only shop from 3 until 5 o'clock in the afternoon in a specifically Jewish store whose owners were also gradually deported. Jews were not allowed to go to any kind of entertainment or sports facilities and could not practice sports in public. There was a curfew from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. when many people were hauled out of their homes, never to be seen again. One could not even sit in one's own garden after 8 at night and could not visit Christian families. The City Hall in Amsterdam provided a very useful map showing where most of the Jewish population resided, which helped with the raids against the Jews. The Dutch police were compelled to participate in the search, otherwise they would suffer severe penalties. The Nazis were able to obtain their objective to destroy the Dutch Jewish community because the Dutch were law-abiding citizens. All measures were accompanied by severe threats for non-compliance. For us who live in a free society, it is impossible to imagine the impact these restrictions wrought on our lives. In March 1941, we were obliged to register with the Jewish Council, as shown here on the proof of notice, denoting that I have 4 Jewish grandparents. We did not realize this at the time, but it was our death warrant.